Welcome back to Talk the Walk. With me now is CPPCC Standing Committee member Anthony Wu. So, Mr. Wu, before we move on to another topic, I want to follow up on the last questions on President Xi's speech when he's talking about the Greater Bay Area Initiative. So another highlight of the president's speech is he encouraged and he called on the young people in Hong Kong to work and live in the Greater Bay Area. Now, given the current social and political environment in Hong Kong, where a lot of young people actually resist the growing influence, what they call the growing influence of Beijing over the city, how appealing do you think the president's call is? Or is this like a wishful thinking?
I think to different people, his speech may means differently, but I do think the Greater Bay Area does offer great opportunities for the Hong Kong young people. And I'm just thinking back to about 15 years ago when I was still the chairman of a major accounting firm, when we were expanding into the mainland, and I asked one of my younger partners to be transferred to Beijing. And he said, "Oh, Chairman, I'm doing very well. Why do you want to exile me to Beijing?" I said, "No, this is a good opportunity." And he said, "Oh, can I go Monday and come back Friday?" I said, "No." He said, "Oh, at my own expense?" I said, "No." I said, "I want you to integrate into the community." Now, every time I go to Beijing, he thanked me. He said, "I thank you for forcing me to go to Beijing because really this opens up my whole horizon," and really he's very happy. And I think as young people, I think we should have really the vision to see more and to do more. And I think Greater Bay Area really offers great opportunities for young people. And I think once you go into Greater Bay Area, you see the opportunities there a lot, and there are a lot of space for growth. And I do hope young people will take on President Xi's suggestion that, oh, go and have a look. And I'm sure once you stay there or work there, you enjoy a very different environment.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe they will love the Greater Bay Area. Maybe they will think it's great living in Guangzhou once they move there. But how do you get them to move there at the first place when a lot of people reluctant to travel across the border even? How would you just give them the first nudge?
I think if there are more people going there and if there are more success stories to be told, and I think young people will listen to their friends and their colleagues and, oh, he's enjoying himself. Why? I think then more people will go. You cannot force people to go. I cannot just tell you, "Sarah, you just go there tomorrow." You're not going to go. But if your friends say, "Oh, this is a great area, or I really enjoy myself, it's really just as good as Hong Kong," then you may consider, "Oh, maybe I should go to look." And once you have a look, and you may love it. And so, it is not a short thing to do. It's really a long-term thing that more and more people go there and more integrating and really getting together, knowing each other. I mean, admittedly, some of the culture and whatever different, but we are one country. It's all Chinese, and I'm sure a lot of things can be reconciled and rectified.
All right, I want to take a look at the Greater Bay Area from another angle, which is against the backdrop of Sino-US relations. Because, right. So during President Xi's speech, he attributed Shenzhen's successful economic model as the socialism with Chinese characteristics. Do you think that's a message to the West, especially to the United States, that the China model is working?
I think if I read his speech very carefully and slowly, I think the message to the West is, if you look at Shenzhen, the success story over the last 40 years is because we insist of opening up our economy. And as you read his speeches, opening up is a must. That is the way to move forward I think it's a signal to the West that, now, come on, you blame us of closing our door. No, we are opening up because this is the only way that we could move forward. So I think I find that reading leaders' speeches, I think we have to read between the lines and really read a few times and analyze what they try to say. And then the message is quite clear, is really the success story of Shenzhen is because we have been opening up. We have been able to innovate and do many new things. And then that's why Shenzhen, from 40 years ago to now, it has completely changed. I remember 20, 30 years ago when I moved to Shenzhen, go across the border, I feel, oh, really, this is really like two different places. But now, if you go across the border, what's the change? Maybe Shenzhen is greener and the building are nicer and bigger areas. So, opening up is really a formula for success. And I think that is how I read in President Xi's speech.
That's right. But I also want to ask that, yes, that's right. President Xi talked a lot about opening up and reform export international trade. But he also urged the technological sector in China to be self-reliant. So which one is it? Is it globalism, globalization, or nationalism is directing China's economic policy? What do you think?
I don't think it's nationalism. I think it is really an answer to what is happening right now in the world. I think we're talking about globalization for the last 20, 30 years. But in the last couple of years, it's really like, oh, we are getting polarized. And so the whole supply chain has changed. And therefore, what President Xi is suggesting is really, especially the tech area, that, oh, we have to be able to supply our own sort of parts and whatever, instead of relying on overseas.
We know that the rivalry between China and the United States, it's been long running. It's not like it just happened in the past 3 days. And a lot of U.S. policymakers are arguing that the United States has helped China to achieve the economic boom, to increase their military and technological capacity in the past 40 years, some may argue. But now, the hope of greater cooperation seems to be replaced by the fear of rivalry. So do you think that the tensions between China and the United States prompted the central government to prioritize Shenzhen, which is a mainland Chinese city under China's socialist system, instead of Hong Kong, which is more Western-leaning?
I think there may be some reasons why the central government is really focusing on Shenzhen because of the U.S. and China very tight relationship or tough relationship. But I do think if we look at the whole world situation now, it's very different. I mean, last 40 years, okay, we have entered the WTO and we have done a lot. And of course, with the help of a lot of the foreign investments. But at the same time, we have opened up a market, which a lot of the MNCs, the multinationals, are benefiting. And now, if you look at the next 40 years, are we going to be going towards the globalization, or are we going to be working very polarized? Oh, US is US, Europe is Europe, Asia is Asia. So I think this is a question that we all have to think. But I was talking to some sort of philosophers or politicians in the States, and one question that they talk about, which is quite interesting, is between US and China, it's not just a trade war, or between the Western countries and China, it's not just about trade or money. It's about your ideology. It's about your value.
Right.
Because of COVID-19, okay, the Western country, okay, we have very democratic countries and we are all doing well and our value, everything is the same. But how do we combat with COVID-19? Whereas this socialist country has been able to combat COVID-19 very well. So is there something wrong with the Western system, or do we need to rethink about the whole thing? So, this is a very interesting time when some sort of thinkers start to think, oh, maybe a fusion of the two, the West and the East, may be the best solution for the world to go forward. I think this is something that we all have to think. A socialist country can really combat COVID-19 in such an efficient way when the Western countries, the better technology, admittedly, are a lot ahead of China, have not been able to cope. So why? So I think people start to ask these questions, and which is quite interesting.
Right, that's a very, very an interesting discussion to have. I do have one more question to ask you, and we don't have a lot of time, but so I want to ask you that Hong Kong has long been regarded as China's gateway to the West because of its international history and international nature. Yeah. So do you think a more nationally integrated Hong Kong is China's strategic move in winning the geopolitical chess game's been playing with the U.S., or is it closing that gateway to the West?
Well, I hope that we will always maintain our very unique position as a gateway to the West because of our different system. This is really the beauty of the one country, two system, because of our common law system and our very efficient government. And I do hope that we would maintain our unique position, act as a super connector, the bridge between the West and the East. And I think we should be able to continue to do this in the next 40 years.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wu, for your time. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you next week right here on Talk the Walk. Stay tuned.